let's start out with the obvious. Ross and Rachel. No, I bet you guys thought I was probably going to talk about Chandler. No. We're going to talk about Ross and Rachel. Now, the bright spots that those two have had throughout the entire first two seasons. Obviously, we have my air conditioner in the background, as you can clearly hear. But, well, that's not mine per se. It's an apartment complex. Anyways, you guys know the story. Now let's get into it. Ross and Rachel were on completely opposite paths in season one. Now Ross, now we all know he was very attracted to Rachel since jump. Like before we even knew more about Ross, we knew one thing about Ross, and that was that he liked Rachel. Rachel, on the other hand, did not like Ross. She didn't see him that way. And it's not like she thought he was unattractive. It's just that she never cared to view him in that way. And the times where she could have, where Ross could have just said, hey, Ross never took initiative. Not to put the blame on Ross for not taking initiative on why he could never be with the woman he loved, but some women may not reject you if you tell them your feelings. Some may be open to the idea of seeing what you're like in a relationship. However, Ross did not do that. And what we saw in the entirety of season one was Ross simply never taking initiative, having multiple opportunities, which he came very close, but something always came up. And it surprised me, and over the course of time, it definitely made me laugh when those opportunities would arise in which he would fail to take initiative. But ultimately, it led up to the events that we saw in season two. And in season two, we saw the opposite. We saw Rachel being the one to try and take initiative, and she kept failing. Now, it didn't go on as long as when Ross was trying to take initiative in season one, but those two were on very different paths, very opposite paths, very parallel paths as well. Almost very similar, but different. Actually, one path mirrored Ross's path in season two, mirrored Rachel's path in season one. Ross was with Julie, and Rachel, it was heartbreaking for her. She would talk to her friend Monica and Phoebe about it, occasionally Joey and Chandler, as we saw in season one, with Ross talking to Joey and Chandler about it, occasionally Monica and Phoebe. Now, with that being said, those two did have significant character development, but what we got to see was individual character development, not just them, going into a relationship together, but what we saw was Ross's own growth with how he viewed lesbianism, and Rachel's growth with her independence in life. Those two became better people, not for a relationship, but for themselves first. Now that's something that I feel like everyone should work on before they bring, unnecessary baggage into a relationship. You don't want to bring, your fears, your insecurities, your dependency upon others into a relationship, because that would potentially force the relationship to fail. And what we got to see in season two was the growth of those two characters, of a lot of people's favorite characters, and how they bettered themselves in their own lives before they got into a relationship. Now, it's not like they were like, hey, let's fix each other, let's fix ourselves before we get into this relationship. It's just, that's how the writers chose to write it, And it was such a beautiful season to watch. We saw that in the first half up until they formed a relationship. Now let's just move on to everybody's most hilarious duo. All right, Joey and Chandler, obviously. Who else could I have named there? You know, maybe Ross and Chandler. You know, maybe Phoebe and Chandler. You know, maybe Phoebe and Ross. Nah, I don't think people would exclude Chandler from a hilarious duo. You know what I mean? Now, speaking of hilarious, Joey and Chandler, their storylines typically involved significant amounts of humor with little to no consequences. Consequences, though, they finally came in season 2, with Joey losing his Days of Our Lives job and Chandler being bullied and the one with the bullies. Now, but for me, this just makes for a more emotional impact as a viewer, you know, watching when they're in these positions of like more emotional vulnerability. You know, because we didn't really see Joey and Chandler having those moments where you could really feel what they were feeling, relate to it. You know, we didn't really see much of that in season 1. We saw a lot of that for Rachel and Ross. We saw that a bit with Monica, but we didn't see that from Joey, Chandler, and Phoebe in season 1, really. Let's be real. But we saw a lot of that from all characters in season 2. Especially Joey and Chandler. You know, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people in life have lost a job. A lot of people in life, you know, have been bullied. Just like Chandler. You know, people may not these days get bullied as adults, but hey, it happens, I'm sure. And so, one thing that's still a question mark is, will Joey ever have a role as good as he did on Days of Our Lives? Will that ever come to pass where Joey will get his due justice, his due diligence, you know, whatever they say? Will he get that? I guess we'll see, because what we've seen from Joey is that he loves his best friend. His best friend is Chandler. They've been roommates forever, you know, and Joey did move out, as we saw in season 2. And for a second, I thought these two would have a lot of individual moments, so whether they would have character development individually, like Rachel and Ross did in season 2. However, that didn't really happen like I expected it to. It happened like a lot of other moments. It happened in an unexpected way. And I can't say I disliked it at all, because I enjoyed watching Chandler and Joey together in scenes together. It's not like I feel like they can't make it work in scenes alone, because they can, and it's been proven when Joey moved out. But those two together, it's a hit. It's a banger every time. But these two, I wouldn't say they've been reduced to comic relief, but what they are more comedic characters, in which one is very intelligent and one is not really, you know, but they just have such great chemistry with their natural personalities, you know, with their friendship along through the years, with their connections with their other friends. Every time Joey and Chandler are in a scene or in an episode, or are the primary characters / focus of an episode, I know I'm gonna laugh. I know I'm gonna feel better about my day, and probably even my life, just because these two characters together, especially if you have an episode featuring them, makes for a super hilarious episode. And it'll definitely cheer you up if you're sad. Now, two characters that got the least amount of character development in season 1 got a ton of character development in season 2. Those characters being Monica and Phoebe. This is one thing I mentioned either halfway through or towards the end of season 1, where, you know, Phoebe was my favorite character, but she wasn't getting a lot of screen time. Monica wasn't my favorite character, but she was also noticeably not getting enough screen time. And when she was just in scenes with the group, or scenes due to Rachel going back home and it being Monica's home, you know? But what they've become over season 2, over the course of season 2, these two characters have really become the emotional pillars of the group. Now, they're all emotional pillars to rely on with each other, but these two have been those characters that typically other characters will go to in times of crisis. You know, we saw Monica and Rachel arguing, right? Like halfway through the season, we saw them arguing. Phoebe, she was like, I don't know what to do. Let me do what I can. And this is what happened. This is exactly what happened, you know? And like so many other moments in Friends, it was hilarious, but she was there for them. And in that same episode later on, we saw them hug it out, man. How many times have we seen Phoebe just bring the group in for a nice little group hug, you know? There have been, I don't know how many times, but she's that character. Phoebe is a character that is a wild card in which you never know what you're gonna get. You may get loopy Phoebe, you may get, you know, emotionally vulnerable Phoebe, you may get protective Phoebe, you may get aggressive Phoebe, you may get the Phoebe that's gonna contradict everything you know and love and debate evolution with you to the death. Phoebe, that's a Phoebe you may get. But we saw so many variations and iterations of Phoebe this season that it was hard not to appreciate and enjoy the character development that she was getting along the way. You know, something that was noticeably lacking in season 1. She only got, 2-3 episodes where she was the primary focus out of 24? That's pretty crazy. But in this season, we saw a lot of character development for her and her family. That's right, I said that. Her family. I didn't see myself saying that, you know, at the end of season 1. Family. You know, that's such a nice word. Just say it with me, guys. Family. All right, now that that moment's over, we can go on, talk about Monica a little bit. Like, we had a lot of Monica moments where she was jobless, you know, and I can relate to that because termination sucks. You know what I mean? Termination sucks. But a lot of people go through it in life, you know? Monica went through quite a bit of loss this season. She went through her job, losing her job, gaining Richard, right? And then losing Richard. Richard was the most consistent relationship Monica has had in this entire series so far. Only to lose it in the season finale. Her and Richard come to the conclusion mutually that they aren't meant for each other anymore. You know, and it's nothing harder to accept than the truth. You know, especially with someone you love. Like when you realize you're at that point where you both understand that you're not meant for each other. One of you wants to have kids. The other one has already lived that life, watching their kids grow up. They're past that point of wanting kids. Monica and Richard made a lot of things work in their relationship, but one thing they couldn't make work was the time difference, the age difference between them and their life experiences due to the age. You know? Other than that, they were a match made in heaven. But one thing Monica has proven to me is that probably more so than the others, Monica bounces back super quick. She never spent an entire episode depressed, sad. You know, maybe she spent an entire episode angry at Rachel for, you know, dating the guy that she wanted to be with, but you know, that happens. But Monica has always bounced back quickly. She always tries to work on herself for the better. And that's something that I feel like I've noticed more with Monica than the other characters in the show. Besides, maybe Rachel, who's been trying to gain independency ever since episode 1, season 1. But one thing I appreciate for this whole entire series so far is the character development. And Monica has had significant amounts of character development throughout this entire series. Sorry. What we've seen is how passionate Monica was. The one with the fake Monica, right? Where she realized, hey, I can be this exciting person too. All I have to do is go out and do stuff. We saw that example of Monica being passionate. We saw another example of Monica being passionate when she was encouraging Chandler to lose weight because Phoebe was cracking jokes. Chandler was hurt, but Chandler realized she's right. She's right. I gotta lose weight. And so Monica was there, Unlike the other friends, you don't really hear the other friends talking about their workouts. And not every person works out daily. But Monica, you can tell by who she used to be when she was younger, on the bigger side versus now, super skinny. You can tell that she is passionate about the things she wants. And what she wanted for Chandler was him to lose weight, and it happened, Eventually, Chandler kind of gave in towards the end of the episode. He put a little reverse psychology just to get Monica down and out for the count, but for the most part, Monica was passionate about her friend losing weight, and a friend that's passionate about another friend reaching their goals is a friend they need to keep around. Monica and Chandler have had these moments where they have surprised me with their chemistry. But I love it because, we don't really get to see that from, we do. We do see that from other characters that you wouldn't expect. Like, there have been plenty moments where Ross and Phoebe have had these back and forth moments where Phoebe outwits him. And I love to see it because I continue to watch these scenes with Ross and Phoebe, but they always hit me in the end that Phoebe outwitted him. I don't know how, but it happened. I just watched that happen, And I like it. I liked it a lot. But I didn't want to make this video too long. And I didn't want to cover every single scene of every single episode. Otherwise, this would have been a 4-hour, probably 6-hour video. I didn't want to do that. Okay, not realistically, it probably wouldn't have been that long. It probably would have been an hour, and I'm not trying to get into that. But what I will do is include this picture right here, right? This is a picture I saw when I was in Boston about the Friends reunion. Yes, when we finish Friends, I will react to the reunion for you guys, because I know you guys probably have already seen that, but I haven't yet seen it just because I haven't seen the show. I haven't finished the show. Once I finish, I will get into the reunion, then I'll get my thoughts and opinions on that as well. Can't wait to watch that. But back into this recap. Phenomenal second season. Season 1, incredible, but season 2, by far better in every way. Season 2 had so many moments that either made me incredibly sad to the point I cried, incredibly shocked to the point I screamed, especially with the season finale, with seeing Janice for the first time in forever. Season 2 was just better than season 1. And that's not a knock to season 1, but it's a nod to season 2. Hats off to you, season 2. Hats off. Now, what I want to see, what I would like to see, what I would love to see in season 3 is more of Chandler and Janice. Where does that go? Where does that go from there? Do they form a relationship? Hopefully, because Janice was beginning to become a favorite of mine. I don't know how. I guess it's because she made Chandler a better person just by being herself. If you can just do your own thing and not purposely try to make a person better, then you're probably a good person to have in that person's life. I don't know if that... I'm pretty sure you guys understood that. I know I said the word person a lot, but I'm pretty sure you guys understood that. Now, obviously, outside of Chandler and Janice, I definitely want to see more of Phoebe's family. We got to see her ties, her family ties, in season 2. We got to see a bit of that in season 1 with her twin sister in, well, her character description, of course. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to react to the show that her twin sister is in. If it gets enough upvotes, I will definitely react to that show. But if not, you know, we won't. But let me know. I am excited to see more of Phoebe's family. I was super shocked to see her brother was the actual person that dropped the condom in that one episode in her guitar case when it was open. I didn't expect to see that guy again, man. I fully did not expect to see him again, but seeing him again was a super big plot twist for me. You know? Now, obviously, I feel like what's less important for season 3 right now, in terms of priority, is Ross and Rachel. Ross and Rachel have been good throughout the entire season 2. Season 3, I'm kind of still expecting that. So, I guess for the first time in forever, Ross and Rachel could be a side story. You know, I don't know if they'll make them a side story. They kind of have been more on the side story side of things, especially with the last half of season 2. Well, sorry, with the last quarter of season 2. But I'm always going to be excited to see more scenes with Ross and Rachel. What I'm going to be excited for as well is Monica's love life. Monica's love life has always been a huge question mark. Which seasons, like every single season, she's always gotten a new love interest, maybe 2. What I'm expecting to see is probably more of that. Maybe she'll be single for season 3. Who knows? I don't know. I've never seen the show. You guys have seen the show though, so I'm pretty sure you guys know. But I am excited to see it happen in season 3. What I'm also excited to see is what I mentioned before, Joey's job situation. What's going to go on with that? Is Joey going to be just, you know, going from job to job like he used to in season 1? Because though Joey is still, it's Joey's life, I feel like it's one of those things where we may not get to see it. We may not get to see Joey ever have one of those great jobs, just because I can tell by the way they've been writing Joey, his character isn't progressing like other characters are, like the entire rest of the cast is. Ross has reached his goal with Rachel, and they seem to have formed a relationship that may last. Chandler, he's maturing throughout the seasons. He's maturing, and he's found a woman that he was with before, that he matured mentally and emotionally to the point where he desires a relationship with her. Phoebe has found her family. Something I was expecting to see in season 1, but that I was excited to see in season 2. Monica has been maturing with her love life. She has found a very mature love interest in season 2, but they had to go their separate ways. What happens next with Monica's love life? Or could they be setting her up for single person life? Single life? Bachelorette life. Single. You guys can get my drift. I don't know why I'm stuttering. But what I'm saying here is that Joey, right now, is probably the least accomplished character in the show. And that's kind of a drag, man, because it's not like I feel Joey is a bad character. I don't think Joey is a bad character at all. I don't think he was terribly written. I think he adds a lot of comedic value to the show. To every episode that Joey's in, he typically adds a ton of comedic value. But his career, on the other hand, it's looking like it's in shambles, man. And I hope it improves. I really hope it improves for season 3. Now, those are my hopes. Those are my hopes for each of the characters, each of the main cast members. If we don't see all those come to pass, come to light in season 3, then that's okay. As long as we get to see somebody, at least 3 out of 6 friends can hopefully achieve their dreams. You know, hopefully Joey can get a stable job. Hopefully Monica can either be, you know, happy while she's single or be with the guy that she's with for the rest of the series. Hopefully one of those two, you know, and hopefully, you know, the other 3 are happy. Yeah, hopefully the other 3 are happy in their relationships. But we'll see. Find out next week on Friends Season 3 premiere, guys. See you guys soon. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more. Check the Patreon in the description below. We have already started Season 3 there. So by the time you guys see this video, we will be thoroughly in Season 3. Hopefully, you know, if all goes well with my laptop. Anyways, guys, see you guys in the next Friends reaction. Thanks for watching. Peace.